Thank you for tuning in to the Untouchable Jessica Joan podcast. I'm Jessica Joan, and this is the safe space where we talk about the real stuff that no one's really talking about. So we're going to be diving into courage, clarity, and getting over shit. Because I know you got shit, we all got shit, and we need to get over it. So thank you for joining me on this ride. Here we go. Venus in Scorpio. My Venus is in Scorpio, so I need you to understand that when I love, it penetrates my soul like a cancerous well of passion, consuming every cell of my beingness. Your scent becomes the oxygen and CO2 of my breath. There is no escaping for me. That's why it scares me to love you. Because when it comes to romantic love, I am my poetry. They are not just words to me. It is how my soul speaks truth. I will kiss every inch of your skin-clad universe. My lips will heal all that hurts inside with a divine love that penetrates beyond the layers of your pain and broken places. Because I've lived in the hell of my own abandonment. My mom wasn't there to hold me tight, so I laid and cried myself to sleep at night. I know the deepest loss of love, only to know its fullest. I crave a love so deeply, not because I am empty, but because I am so full. So full it pours into my tribe, my family, and oftentimes strangers. But when it comes to you, I'm scared shitless. The thought of someone having a heart deep enough to handle mine sometimes feels impossible. You'd be surprised at what bridges break when they hold the weight of a love so pure. They want to taste it. But then they realize they haven't acquired a taste for honest and true love. So now I hope you understand why I can get a little bit crazy, run and hide, or let my ego take me for a ride. It's 'cause I'm scared. I used to fall too hard too quickly, only to have stumbled over the broken pieces left behind from lovers that were irresponsible and reckless. But that was me, before my wisdom. So now, I wait. I'm not afraid to let you see all of me. But now you know why my heart likes to keep secrets. Oh my God, you guys, that was one of my favorite poems I've ever written. It makes me happy every time I read it. I hope you enjoyed it. I never say it, but it's one of my babies, so I had to let you know. And today I am so overjoyed and excited. So welcome back, everyone, to the Untouchable Jessica Joan, because this episode is sponsored by the incredible Essence Skincare from Miss Jasmine. So if you know me, I have had a very turbulent journey with my skin and my relationship with it. I have very beautiful skin that I am so grateful for, but it did not come without a lot of pain and suffering, as well as I've had to overcome a lot of intense struggles with eczema. And it was so hard for me to find the right skincare. I would try stuff like Aveeno and Cetaphil from the drugstore, two brands that will cost you a tiny fortune. And it wasn't until I came across Essence and met the lovely Jasmine that I found a skincare line that really spoke to me and that nourished my skin. Not only is it all natural, but she is so tapped in and knowledgeable of using nature's medicine to help your skin. So there's no parabens, there's no weird chemicals. It's literally from the earth. There's even, she has a part of her line that has dragon's blood in it from the dragon blood tree. So it is the best thing for your skin, hands down. there isn't anything else that I would more happily recommend. And not only that, but she's also offering me the opportunity to hook you guys up with a discount, 15% off with my code LoveJessJoan. So if you go to her website, essenceskincare.com, just put that little code and you will get a discount on your first purchase and get to give your skin the love that it needs and deserves. So speaking of skin, I'm actually going to take you on a deeper dive into what that journey and experience was as we learn about overcoming shit. Now, a lot of the episodes, we've already dove into trauma, into the emotions, and now I'm going to talk about the physical body because we all go through some sort of physical trauma, small, big, it's irrelevant. But the most important thing is, how do we get over it? So one of the biggest traumas for me physically has been dealing with my skin, with the eczema. Most of my life, though, I've been blessed with good skin, but then it would just come out of nowhere. And when I was a little baby, I actually had to wear little gloves because I would be scratching myself. And so it's been a journey to find out what is the root of this, what's happening. As I've gotten older and have learned and unlearned certain things, it had to do with diet, emotions, even these traumas are so resilient that, we'll try to hide it, right? Put on some creams and just find these different ways to mask what was going on. But really, my body was signaling to me that there was shit going on underneath. And how that even manifested was one time that I was living in Hawaii and I developed a severe heat rash. Like, I can't even tell you, this was one of the most painful times of my life. So what had actually happened was I was doing a detox, and so I had assumed that this was just something that was happening because sometimes when you detox physically, you can get rashes or headaches and whatnot. So I thought that that's what was happening. But what I came to find out was that the humidity and the heat during the summer of Hawaii, while putting shea butter all over my skin, the shea butter was so thick and creamy, and I love shea butter, but it was blocking my pores. So it wasn't able to sweat basically or be able to release and detox. And then I was going into the ocean, and then all of the little ocean things were getting stuck in there, and then I'm baking in the sun. And so it got to the point where it was so severe, I actually had to fly back to California to be in a cooler climate. And during this time, my partner at the time had to put hydrogen peroxide. I could barely move. It was so miserable. I wanted to die. It was just so painful, and it just felt like it was never going to get better. And we tried everything under the sun. And finally, after getting back to California, I stayed with some friends in Malibu, and I got to rehabilitate myself there. And the funny thing is, as much as it was a physical, external reaction and also explainable, that journey and that lesson that I needed to go through not only created resilience, and not a fun way of getting resilience, but I had to really sit with myself and sit with that pain. There was nowhere to go. I was so unhappy and miserable and just in pain that I had to transmute that feeling, and it made other emotions come up that needed to be seen. So in your healing process, there is no one way about going about things. Like, you may think that you've healed something, but your body, your spirit, your mental, your emotions are constantly going to be showing you what needs to be looked at when you choose not to look at these things. And I was going through so much in all of my life. How could I look at all this stuff while surviving? So the universe then put me in a situation for these things to occur, for a deeper lesson to come through. And not only that, how I look and my appearance had been such a important part of my life and my survival. And going through that process, I had to look at myself outside of these things. Like, what is my value outside of what I look like? And it can sound shallow, but the reality is, in knowing my story and all the things that I went through, that if I didn't appear a certain way, which helped me navigate through life, which gave me an opportunity to survive and to find some optimism, and also to use that as a tool to keep surviving, I don't know what I would have done, because things were that hard. So now I was being put in a position where I didn't have that. I wasn't feeling cute. I was feeling the total opposite of that. And I was feeling pain. So all of those things were weighing on me, but I eventually got through it. And I had to sit with myself. I had no choice. And I also had to do things that were more nourishing for my body. At the time, I was still fairly healthy, but even my own journey with drinking a lot of alcohol and binging or partying too much and doing all of these things that weren't serving me, that stuff doesn't go away. That still comes back up to the surface. So even in my journey of being healthy, it's because I had to undo all the damage that I had done, which a lot of that was caused either by a lack of awareness, but really it was my own way of suppressing and repressing the emotions. So that was one of my biggest ones. And another thing that happened to me that changed my life immensely was when I got hit by a car. And so November of 2018, whilst all of this stuff is going on with NXIVM, not having my life in order, and just coming back from living in Hawaii, I came back to LA ready but not ready to get back into the grind. And it's just the only way that I knew how, because that's how I survived. Okay, I got to get a job, got to figure it out, or, start modeling again, do all of these things. But I was still coming from a place that was really broken. And not broken like my spirit had been broken, but I had just went through a whole shitstorm of things and was still in the middle of it. So trying to just grasp and have some ground was nearly impossible. It was to the point where I didn't even have any money because I'd just come back, and I couldn't even afford a face cream. And I remember driving and just having a breakdown in the car and crying and just like, I just wish I could buy my cream. And it wasn't the Sans one at the time, but I couldn't even afford anything. And everything was really tough. I was staying with a friend and her 4 kids and 3 cats in a very far place of LA. We could barely even call it LA still. And I was in the struggle. And internally, I just kept feeling like I wish I could just be taken care of, and, that's not a hard thing, or that's not an unreasonable thing to want, especially because I'd never really been taken care of other than myself. And so what ended up happening was I was meeting a friend for dinner at Swingers on Beverly. I don't know if you guys know, right there. And so there is this crosswalk with a light, and then there's this other unprotected crosswalk with like these big white lines. And how I was feeling was all of those things. I wish I could just be taken care of. I wish I could just take a break. And I was walking in the middle of the crosswalk. It was about to be the evening. And then all of a sudden I see this car coming at me and realizing it's not going to stop. And it is like the movies. It's exactly how they say. It is slow motion. So I turn and I see this car about to hit me. And I'm just like, oh my God. Everything is slow. She by the time she started to brake, it was too late. And so she hit me in the middle of the crosswalk. And the only thing I could think of was, I can't believe a car just hit my body. That's actually what I was saying as I'm crying. I can't move my legs. And I'm just like, a car just hit my body. It was just so insane. I was laid out in the middle of the crosswalk. There's all this energy and vibrations going through my body. I'm in shock. Thankfully, there's a bunch of pedestrians that picked me up, brought me to the sidewalk. I'm bawling my eyes out. I don't even know what's really happening. And then the ambulance came. And funny thing with the ambulance, I tried, I'm one of those people where even if it's really horrible, if I have the opportunity to make light of the situation, I will. And at that point, a lot of the adrenaline had subsided for the most part, and I felt better. The ambulance was here. I had the neck brace on, and I was wearing these yoga pants. And they're like, hey, we need to cut these off if it's okay with you to make sure you're not injured. And I was like, all right. And so they take off my shoes, and it's just a bunch of guys, these paramedics, and it's just like a weird situation. And I was like, hey, guys, sorry, I haven't gotten a pedicure. And we just had a moment. And so not that everything wasn't horrible and crazy and traumatic, but I just want you to see that there's a choice. I did take the choice of, I just been a victim and hit by a car, but also it's moment to moment. And I found a moment in this place as it's embarrassing. I'm basically naked. They're cutting my pants off. I didn't have a pedicure. There's these random guys. So I chose this in this moment to find it funny, find a little light in this whole situation. And as I get to the hospital, I'm on the stretcher. They're putting me in these rooms. And I'm thinking to myself, how fucking ironic. I said, I had prayed that I wish I could just be taken care of. So now here are all these nurses, all these doctors in the ER at Cedars at my beck and call, making sure I'm taken care of. So be careful what you wish for, because that's what happened. And I wished to take a break, and I could not work for a week. And I mean, really, the whole injury in itself, it took at least a year of my life. I ended up with a tear in my MCL, meniscus, and a micro tear in my ACL and my left knee, which that was my first real injury. Other than rolling an ankle one time, I had never been injured. So I had to learn what that felt like, and not being able to do all the things I was able to do physically. Being a model and, booking commercials and just living in an experience where my career had to do with what I looked like, that was now taken from me. And so even doing gigs or working at a nightclub like I had in the past, that's now out of the question. So now every way that I had known how to make money and to sustain myself was, for the most part, taken. So I had to get humbled. But it wasn't even just about being humbled. It was another ego death. It was another strengthening and fortifying of who I am. Like, who is Jessica outside of what she looks like? Who is she when she doesn't have all these tools? And I know I'm talking about myself in third person, but just really I had to look at myself in that way. And I do remove myself from myself in order to see this and to have this higher level of awareness, is when I get myself out of my own way and I get myself out of my own pity party, and I can just dissect it from a different space. And it was a horrible time for me. I call that my Gollum stage, because I couldn't work out. I couldn't even do yoga. I had to walk around with a brace. I was working at this restaurant that was, like top echelon thing, dressed in a way that was not cute for me. It was a whole other experience. And I didn't feel empowered. I felt not cute. I felt just so low, and I still had to find the strength to keep showing up while being injured. I gained over 30 pounds. It was one of the toughest times for me. I had this one green hoodie, so to touch on the Gollum stage. So it was this big oversized green hoodie, and I call it my Gollum stage because I told myself, I'm not going to see anyone unless I can wear my sweatpants. Yeah, I didn't want to see anyone. I was really depressed and, still dealing with this NXIVM stuff. And it was super hard for me. All of my identity was being questioned. And then luckily, I had the ability to think, okay, what is the lesson I can learn here? What is Spirit trying to show me? How can I deeper love myself in spite of all this? How can I love myself as in this way where I'm not in this certain physical form that I'm used to? Like, what is that? And at the end of the day, our bodies are transforming, they're aging, we're growing, nothing's going to stay the same. And I'm so glad I did Vipassana, the 10-day silent meditation retreat, because within that, I learned the law of impermanence. And so sitting in another ego death and being faced with so much adversity, I had to adapt. I had to surrender. And I also had to believe it was going to get better. And normally I'm really good at that. It's what I've been doing since I was a kid. It's how I've gotten through all of the things that I've gotten through, is that belief, that knowingness, that everything changes and it doesn't have to be like this. But there also has to be something that I can do about it. So it's a mixture of surrender and taking action. And part of the action I needed to take within that was to chill out. I just went through so much. I needed to just be within myself. And even with the gaining weight, that's a form of protection. Most people don't know that, but sometimes you're gaining weight or keeping this weight, especially for women, that have dealt with being sexually abused. And it was a time in my life where I didn't want to be seen. I just wanted to just be invisible for once. And I sure as heck made sure I did that. So with overcoming shit, there's no right or wrong way, but you have to understand that in life, it ain't all pretty. And if you've had a really pretty existence up until now, that's freaking awesome. Super happy for you. But no matter what, by the end of our days, just like we're going to have to deal with death of a family member or our own mortality, you got to just persevere or you're going to be left behind or have a really sad existence. And there's no shade, there's no judgment. We are all on our own journeys. But what I'm trying to share with you and show you is that you always have a choice. So anytime you think, oh, I can't do this, or oh, this is impossible, or oh, I'm going to die, it may feel that way. But this is where you have to look clearly. You have to set your sights on what do you want, and you have to be willing to go through these obstacles. Because these things are either going to hold you back and keep you in a limited state in your life, or you're going to freaking break down these walls and climb that mountain. And I promise you, when you climb that mountain and get to the other side where you thought you were going to die, you had no water, it was just the end, the shitstorm, all of it. But when you cross to the other side, I promise you, it is just going to be blessings. Because not only are you going to show yourself what you're made of and who you are, and remember that human spirit resilience within you, you're going to be a whole new person. And guess what? That whole new person is going to be able to attract, receive, and bring in all that they deserve. This is life, ladies and gentlemen. This is a game, and then it's also not a game, but it's however you choose to play it. So overcoming shit, this is part of what makes me untouchable and why I can say that and claim that and hold that with no qualms is because I have been through the shits over and over and over again, tested time after time. But one thing I will not do is I will not quit. I will not stop. I will always keep getting myself up and out of this because I will always keep looking forward because I know what I deserve. And now for the first time in my life, I am fully living in my purpose as this version of myself that I had been fighting for. And really, this is just the beginning. So, overcoming shit. That's the thing we need to do. We just need to get that grit. Thank you for riding this journey with me. My invitation for you all today is for you to sit with yourself. You know, my favorite thing, I love when you sit with yourself and think about some of the hardest times you had in life. Maybe you're going through it right now. I want you to sit with that, write it out, and find the lesson in there. What is the lesson you can learn from that? And who is the version of you that overcomes it? I want you to visualize it. I want you to see this you 2.0, the king version, the queen version, and really, really feel what that feels like. How does this person act? How does this person show up in a room? How does this person speak to other people? How does this person look at themselves in the mirror? So that is all for today. Thank you again, and I'll see you real soon. Thank you again for tuning in. It means the world to me. And if you enjoyed this podcast and this episode, it would be so helpful if you subscribe, like, or comment. And this will allow this podcast to grow and for it to reach as many people as it can. So thank you again so much.